Es ist wirklich sehr dunkel. Ich stelle mir das ein bisschen näher her, glaube ich. Oh, das hat schon passt. Danke. What's going on? What's going on? Today we're rocking a little bit of a special lighting, I must say. Wouldn't have expected that it turns out that way, but we have this kind of lamp here. It's pretty shallow, where first of all, we are not in the usual setting, as you might have noticed. We are in the Tom P says hello. Hello, Tom. What's up? Greetings from Styria. We're in Styria still, but we're not at home. At least not at home with my family. We're at home with Mona's family again. Same place where I streamed last time, but this time because it's so cold outside, I can't go to the balcony, because it's freezing cold outside. We had a pretty harsh temperature drop here in Austria 1-2 days ago, and today it was actually 12 degrees outside, which is, it's still reasonably warm, right? It's not that you're gonna die there. Music Scala says hi. What up, Music Scala? Welcome back to the stream. Smaranka is there as well again. Hey there, Manny. What's up, man? Good to see you guys. I hope you're all doing fine. Yeah, super cold, man. And actually today, unexpected outdoor session. And I must say it was too cold. It was too cold. It was extreme. There was wind and everything. The sun came into the crag at about afternoon, and we hoped for better conditions because then we would have a little bit of a temperature rise, but then the clouds came. Okay, so we got that blocked out as well. So super freezing conditions at the crag, and additionally it was really significant that the body, our bodies were not used to these kind of conditions this time, because we're coming from quite hot conditions a couple of days ago, still 23 degrees or something, to now 12 degrees. And the body was kind of frosty, and the rock was frosty. I blew a flash, which was a little bit disappointing, I must say. There is this the recent route that I posted, the Zeitgeist, which is a really historical, memorable route. First 8A in Austria. Take that to the bank. First 8A in Austria, first ascended in 1984, back in the time when there was 8B max grade. Okay, worldwide max grade was still 8B. Can you believe it? 1984. So that's when this beautiful line was first ascended, and we red pointed it a couple of days ago. And today I was there again at the same crag. And besides of this wonderful 8A, there's another wonderful 8A called Terrain and Terror. And I've saved the flash for a couple of times now. I was at this crag not very often, I think 2-3 times or something until now. And I didn't touch it because it looked quite flashable. It looked quite readable, and I didn't want to blow it. Today I blew it to spoil the story because, as I said, it was super freezing, and my fingers got frosty halfway on the route. But I must say it was also harder than expected. I also underestimated the smallness, the tininess of the holes a little bit. I thought, okay, it's crimps. It's not can't be that bad because it's still 8A, right? It can't be super small crimps because it's still 8A. Otherwise, it would 8A plus or 8B or something, right? But these crimps were small, I can tell you. And it's kind of this power endurance section until you get a good rest, and then you get another power endurance section to the top, which is significantly easier. The first power endurance section is where it's at. And I was cruising through the first 3 quick draws quite well, right before the crux, and then there is 1, 2, 3 moves on really, really small crimps, and there I simply gassed out because I didn't have enough power. I had to be really honest with you. I didn't have enough power. I had cold fingers as well, but had I have had enough power, I could maybe have pulled it off with cold fingers even. But that both combined, not having enough power and having cold fingers, is a little bit too much for me. So I dropped off there, blew the flash, then I tried a second go, but we were 3 people, so we had quite long resting times. I was cold again when I entered the route again, and so I got two moves further, but then dropped in again. So yeah, that was kind of the unsuccessful story of this outdoor climbing day, I must say. But it was an extra outdoor climbing day, which wasn't even according to the big bad comeback battle plan. Yeah, so we did here deviate from the plan again a little bit, I must admit, because we got one extra session in. But yeah, didn't hurt. I got my hangboard session in right afterwards as well, and now we're resting. Tomorrow is gonna be a rest day. So this is the little story of today's outdoor adventure. Again, last time on the outdoor adventure, we managed to climb the wonderful uh, Zeitgeist route. Amazing route, just such an amazing climb. If anybody of you out there have the level and get the chance to climb this wonderful route, you really should try it. It's already a bit greasy because quite a lot of people obviously have thought the same thing and wanted to get this thing done. Yeah, but what can I say? It's just beautiful. This was the second to last outdoor adventure, and then we already had a 45 session as well during the week. So we had actually three climbing sessions this week, one more than the plan had suggested, and two hangboard sessions. And I had a pretty nice lawn session yesterday as well, with again almost landing the backflip for the first time. Yeah, but it didn't work out still this time as well. I don't know, the lawn was quite moist because it was raining a lot, and I don't know, it didn't have the springiness. Why not? I had so much springiness in my legs, but the lawn took it out. It was kind of like a sponge, It was giving in, so that didn't work out too well. Yeah, so that's basically when it comes to the training that we had during this week. Wow, I hope you're kind of enjoying the beautiful video quality that we have. We're rocking super dark lighting here. It's just super cozy in here like that. Okay, I like it. This is how I can take it. I don't have to go out to the balcony where it's probably below 10 degrees Celsius already and windy. So that would be quite horrible. We're rocking a pretty interesting live stream receptacle today. Let me show it to you. We've got a nice bottle of Vöslauer mineral water, good old mineral water, beautiful, tasting great, I must say. Diet-wise, it's still going interesting. Still no major effects. I don't know. I have the impression that living completely without carbs, it's kind of like you don't have so much attempts in your muscles. When I compare it to former times when I ate a ton of carbs, I had, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 attempts per session, right? This year, on this diet, I have the feeling I have 3, 4 really good attempts, maybe, and then it's for sure dropping off. It's kind of like hitting a wall. And also the skin is not getting that hard either. That's quite interesting, actually. Skin is super soft, which is kind of good when you want to prevent splits and stuff like that, right? But if you want to get this crystally hard climbing skin, I don't know what's missing there. Yeah, somehow the carbs make your skin a little bit stiffer, or I don't know what it is. Yeah. Nice. I can tell you. All right. I don't want to ramble too much. Before we get started with the questions here, as usual, the reminder. First of all, I want to hear some feedback. Hopefully the audio is quite decent. It should be, because we're rocking the Rode VideoMic Pro as usual. And hopefully the video is quite decent as well, although it's quite dark, I know, but that's how we roll today. These are the conditions. Let me know some feedback in the chat. And also, if you're there already, you could drop a like on the stream. That would be awesome, because then the stream gets a little bit more traction in the algorithms. You know the deal. So that would be amazing. Let's see what kind of questions you have, huh? Frankenstein is there again. Says, hi, what's up, Frankenstein? How are you doing? Gasmatab is here as well. Moin Manny, what's up, Gasmatab? Matthias Ladstetter is there as well again. I think Matthias was on the stream already once. I'm thinking about building a 45er in my basement. Ooh, that sounds like a good idea. But the room height is only 2.6 meters. So it would be about 3.6 meter effective climbing length. Do you think that this makes sense, or is it too less? No, I think this makes sense. Okay, this makes sense. I think you could on a wall like that have 2 to 3 moves from bottom to top. If you cramp in a super low sit start like that, 2 to 3 moves to the top to the ceiling, which is amazing. Okay, you can do super hard stuff in just 2 to 3 moves. And if you decide you want to go for a little bit longer, you can also do 4 to 5 moves with a little bit going left and right. And smaller distances in between the moves. I think it's definitely enough for some pure power max training. Okay, for this is definitely enough. Of course, more is always better. I mean, more not necessarily, because then you need higher mattresses again. You need more holds, to set all that stuff. So I'm not sure if you just crank some small SF holes into that wall so that you really can train your max power, which is what it's all about anyway with a home 45er, in my opinion. Uh, and make the most out of the few meters that you have, I would say. Yeah. Isaac Ruby says, Isaac Ruby is, I think, new on the stream. This is a name that I rarely read so far. Hi, Manny. Do you find any climbing areas in the Americas that interest you? Rifle Mountain Park, Red River Gorge, Yosemite. Definitely Red River Gorge looks amazing, yeah, in my opinion. The what looks amazing as well. This is the where the dream catcher is, where the route the dream catcher is. I think this is in Bishop, right? Is it in the Americas or is it in Canada? I'm not sure. But this looks amazing as well. Looks like an amazing crag. Yeah, obviously Red River Gorge. Yosemite, of course, looks amazing as well. Although I'm not so much the multi-pitcher guy. I'm the sport kind of guy. But I think there is sport stuff as well in Yosemite, right? I think there is even bouldering in Yosemite as well. So yeah, you could do a lot of stuff there. Would I like to visit that stuff at some point? Of course, would be awesome. I just don't know, especially with the conditions that we're dealing with nowadays, if it's ever going to happen. Yeah, it's definitely not getting easier, let's put it that way. And we will see how everything develops. Of course, would be cool to visit it at some point. Yeah. Ed Cunningham is on the stream again. Awesome. What's up? What's the favorite climbing trip you've been on? Favorite climbing trip I've been on? Phew, that's a hard question. I would say probably I have to go with the first Leonidio trip that I did. Although it's so hard, man. It's so hard. I will tell you right away which are my favorites. I mean, if I had to list 5, okay, then I would definitely list both the Leonidio trips and 2 of my Siurana, or maybe even all the 3 of my Siurana trips or something. I was 3 times in Siurana already in Spain, and it was always awesome. I don't know. This is just an area that I can recommend wholeheartedly. It's so cool in the winter, in autumn. There is such good community all the time on the campground and everything. People are so psyched, and it's all about climbing. Everybody is fighting their own little battles down there in the gorges, on the wall. It's just an amazing feeling. And I feel like in Leonidio, it's roughly the same, although you don't have really this kind of base camp feeling with the campground. You have this kind of base camp feeling in the Panjica, which is the local the bar, the restaurant there, where the people gather in the evenings and talk about climbing and stuff like that. So this is an amazing feeling as well. And the crags in Leonidio are much more widespread, so it's not so condensed. Yeah? And Siurana is everything is very condensed, and usually from one crag you can see across the gorge into the other crag, and you can actually see if someone red points something super hard or not. You can hear it, you can see it, and you can even push them up from the other side. And this is kind of it makes an awesome atmosphere like that. In Leonidio, you have it a little bit differently. You have more crags spread over a huge area, but you have the sea really close. You have an amazing community as well, amazing people in general, and the vibe that you get from the people and the jam sessions in the bar and everything. uh, the social experience is just amazing in Leonidio as well, I think. So it's really hard for me to tell what I love the most. Also, the recent Leonidio trip during the Big C was amazing as well, because I traveled with my girlfriend. Obviously, it was amazing. We slept in the car. We were at the sea. Yeah, we enjoyed life basically. Yeah. So what can I say? They were all amazing. But the first Leonidio trip was really especially amazing because there were no regulations. Obviously, it was just everything was new. Everything was in development. The people were all super psyched. Everybody had their little projects. I feel that now everything is a little bit more settled in there. You know, things kind of balanced out. Back then, it was just. Yeah, it was just full force, balls to the walls, outdoor climbing, And yeah, Music Scala says audio is perfect, video is cozy. Yeah, that's good. Video is cozy. That's how we like it. Hopefully, I don't talk you into sleep here too much on the stream. I'm also pretty tired, I must say. It was. I have this feeling, I must say. You know this when you're outdoors for a longer time and it's just super cold, or maybe it's not super cold but you feel that it's super cold because you're not still used to it. You're still used to warmer temperatures from the summer, and then there is wind all the time, and the wind kind of scratches your face, and I can feel it on my skin today that I was in the outdoors quite a lot today and that it was cold outside and everything. So yeah, I'm a bit tired, I must say, but let's see how long we can keep this stream going. Depends on how good your questions are, of course. So post some good questions, please. Smarnka says, on cold winter days, you should come down to Slovenia. Yes, man, of course. Ospen Mesa Patch are great for winter climbing because it gets really warm there. Yeah, I know the area. It's not even that far away. I would love to go there a couple of times actually, and I would also love to go to the Trieste area because I know that there's a couple of good cracks there as well. So this is definitely high on the list, I must say. Yeah, we will see. We will see how much time there is. Yeah. Again, we nowadays have to deal with a third adventurer apart from me and my girlfriend, and we have to handle this kind of challenge as well. So that's always interesting. It's not so easy. Torben Busiek says, hey Manny, glad to catch your live stream again. Amazing. Welcome. Greetings from Fontainebleau. Ever been there? No. Still not. Still not. It's a shame. You see that the live stream is going for what, 18 minutes, and we already talked about 3-4 places that I still have to visit, that I still haven't visited. The problem is that there is so much climbing out there. It is much more than you could ever visit inside of a lifetime, inside of a single lifetime. Yeah. So yeah, Fontainebleau, amazing. I'm happy for you that you're there, obviously, and having a good time. And I would like to visit it as well. Hopefully, I can make it at some point. No, but I haven't been there so far. Julian Neubacher says, good evening, Manny. Good evening, Julian. What's up? What is the minimum/maximum temperature that you would consider for hard climbing? I talked about this subject today because it was super cold at the crag and the people were talking about it as well. So for me, when it comes to sport climbing, you can go pretty low. You can go, honestly, if there is sun and no wind, and it's a kind of a crystal clear winter day that way, I would go down to maybe 5 degrees Celsius minimum, okay? But that's really the minimum end. A lot more comfortable would be already like something like 10 degrees Celsius or something, yeah? So this is quite doable, especially if the routes are really short and really bouldery, and if you get a high frequency, a high attempt frequency that way. So you have to be 2 people, okay? And you have to have 2 projects already. nothing that you still need to check out, nothing that you still need to figure the moves out on, okay? Because this takes a lot of time. And if it's cold like that, your partner is going to get cold again. And this is super annoying. Yeah. So you want something that you can project both together. Ideally, you have separate projects, but you already know the stuff so that you don't spend so much time on it. And this is one prerequisite for this to work. If the routes are super bouldery and short, it's even better, yeah, because then one attempt takes only a couple of minutes, like 3-4 minutes, and you can come down again and you can switch, and the other one makes an attempt. And this way, actually, you can get super compact sessions, like 2-3 hours at the crag, and you both are destroyed, and you don't suffer from all the cold situation that much because your body is actually warm all the time, right? Problematic it becomes when there is a lot less attempt frequency. If you're 3 people, one of these 3 people still needs to check something out. This route is a little bit longer, it's a couple of crux sequences, so this takes time. Then the other people get cold again, then they cannot get a proper attempt as well. Then they fall, then they need to check out as well. And this way, can you see what I mean here? This way, the whole team does not get into the flow at any point of the session, and it's just too cold. Finger's gonna be always cold, they will always struggle, yeah, to come into the flow. Whereas if you're 2 people and you have good routes, you have projects, you can really pull it off, like 10 degrees, 5 degrees, yeah, still doable. If you're bouldering, of course, and you can completely regulate the attempt frequency on your own because you don't need to wait, you don't need to have somebody to belay you, then you can go even lower, okay? Then you can go close to 0, I would say. For me personally, that's already pretty limit. Yeah, I'm not the super cold kind of guy who just waits for frosty, snowing conditions out there or something. There's people out there who enjoy that. There's people out there who say the colder, the better. Okay, I'm not one of these people. If I get cold fingers, I don't like it. If I am so cold and the rubber of the shoe gets so stiff that there is just almost no friction anymore, then I just simply don't like it. Yeah, that may be the best conditions for sanding super hard stuff, but who cares? Then I need to be a little bit stronger. Yeah, then I can sand it with a couple of degrees higher. But yeah, with bouldering, you could probably go down to 0 degrees, and with sport climbing, 5-10 degrees Celsius, depending on the conditions. Yeah, and you don't want any wind or something because at least in these conditions, yeah. Ideally, I think if you wanted to have perfect conditions, have it a little warmer and add wind to the mixture. Yeah, wind is just amazing because wind makes everything super dry very quickly, and especially in autumn and winter. And then it's actually getting super super sticky. Yeah, it's getting super sticky that way, and these are actually what I consider perfect conditions. Something like 15 degrees Celsius and wind and a bit of sun. This is amazing. Yeah, these are the driest conditions and usually the ones where you stick the most. Gasmatab says, I'm gonna start my stretch session now. Oh, nice. So just listening, being Austrian, you may heard of Clemens Arvay. No, I know a couple of Clemenses, but not Clemens Arvay. Interesting stuff. He's about to bring out a book. You know him / follow his stuff / thoughts? No, I must say I don't. Let me just real quickly make a Google search. Clemens and see what he's about. Clemens G. Arvay. Okay. He looks a bit, to be very honest, he looks a bit hippie trippy. What's this dude all about? Der Heilungscode der Natur, the healing code of nature. Yeah. He's a bit. He looks like he's a bit hippie trippy. Yeah. No, I must say, I heard him for the first time now. I don't know what he's all about. Probably he is a bit into the esoteric stuff. The biophilia effect. Okay, I don't know him. What you can tell me what he's all about, and I can share my thoughts on that. Music Scala. Hey Manny, have you ever been to the Drei Zinnen? Unfortunately, not. Another epic place that still needs to be visited. Such a legendary wall. Yeah, I can absolutely believe that. I've seen the videos about it. I've seen the pictures and everything. I've seen the video from, I think Alex Huber was it, who soloed one of the walls of the Drei Zinnen, which just looks pretty dangerous because I think it's not the most solid rock, right? It's a bit jossy up there. And yeah, but absolutely legendary. Yeah, true. Jordan Heller, what's up? Welcome back to the stream. How are you doing? Hey, Manny. I climbed some new boulders near my home today, and I don't know how to grade them since I don't have any real experience outdoor bouldering. Do you have any tips? That's hard, man. That's hard. If you have zero orientation to grade them, well, it's hard. You need to set some sort of levels. What I would do is have some sort of really, really rough, orientation grade, which you know from the gym, something like 6A or 7A, or depending on where your level is. I don't really know that, yeah. But have a really rough grade, a really, a milestone grade, like 6A, 7A, of which you have done a couple already in the gym or something, and try to find something like this on your boulders that you have available out there at your home, and then go from there. Simply, is it harder than that? Well, then it's 6A plus. Is it a lot harder than that? Yeah, maybe then it's 6B, and the same in the other direction. Yeah, this is how I would start grading a completely new area. Yeah, just simply trying to pull out of the back of my head some grades that I have from the past. Felix Hayes says, "Hey there, what's up, Felix? Hi." Greetings from South Germany. Ooh, South Germany. Maybe we have a fellow Frankengera warrior here on the stream. That would be cool. My 45er home wall in my garden has a surface of 3.7 times 2 meters. 3.7 height or 3.7 width? I think it's height, probably. And I do there almost everything: max strength slash power, power endurance, 20 move circle boulders. That works amazingly. I can absolutely, I can only agree. Yeah. I mean, this is significantly more than the other guy mentioned. I think the other guy mentioned 2.7 meters, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a whole meter less. But yeah, 3.7 meters times 2, that's amazing surface area. Yeah, you can do a lot on this on a wall like that. Paul B. Yo Manny, yo Paul, what's up? Last stream you talked you talked in the transhumanism chapter about a skeptical mindset, and you said something like act accordingly and move. What did you mean with that? Okay, well, yeah, to talk a little bit more concretely about that, especially I feel, okay, I feel that especially in the Western world, and probably you're there as well because you're watching this from an internet perspective, right? So you have some sort of device where you can plug into the internet, and I know that my audience is from the Western world a lot. Like actually, the majority of my audience comes from North America, and then the next is Germany, and then a couple of European countries. So I know that my audience is quite the Western world. Simply, we usually get told that we live in the Garden Eden, right? We live in the perfect world. Everything is amazing, and we have no worries. We have food and everything. Um, and that we can be happy to be here because it's just such an amazing place on the earth. Comparing it to other places on earth. Yeah. Now I've traveled quite a bit in my lifetime, and I feel that this is really just in the eye of the observer, and it is also really dependent on what kind of values you really value in your life when it comes to life quality. Yeah, for me, for example, What means really good life quality is, first of all, access to good food, and then secondly, access to good water. Yeah, if you have these two things, well, I can live as well in Greece. Yeah, if I have these two things, I can still have amazing life quality, according to my perspective. Yeah, this is my opinion. This is my how I feel about it. Now, there's some people out there who probably want to be able to go to the cinema or want to be able to go to the theater or something like that. Yeah, they value different things in life. And for all these kind of things, you, for example, you would need to move into a bigger city, of course, because you won't find a theater or something on the countryside. Yeah, it's just not going to occur that way. But you get where I'm coming from here. So different people have different perspectives on what's actually valuable. For me, the very, very simple things are valuable. And I can find these things uh, better in Greece, actually, than I can do it in the Western world, okay? Finding good food in the Western world is becoming increasingly harder. The reason for this is that the system, let's call it the system for now, the system is developing into a direction where it step by step more and more removes food sovereignty from the small people. Yeah. How are they doing that? They are doing it that way that they push down regulations so much on the small farmers, the small family farm. They have it extremely hard to sell their products to a broader public because they have to hold up to so many ridiculous regulations nowadays that it's just super hard for them. And what happens consequently is, of course, that they die out. This is very evident. Okay, a lot of small farms are dying out like this, and we get this kind of monocrop culture. Culturing the land with monocrops, and in the end, we all will have to go to the supermarket to get our food. Yeah, and this is something that is very apparent in the Western world, and I feel that in Europe it is more so apparent, even more so the more you go to the north. I've seen this when I did my big Sweden and Norway trip. Uh, I mean, I had the feeling that Norway is pretty much a food desert. Yeah, when it comes to that way, there's a couple of people out in the forest living pretty lonesome lives where they still hunt their one moose a year or something, which they are allowed, and they are selling that meat and stuff. This is, of course, stuff that is amazing, that is still allowed, and this is food sovereignty, right? This is the small man who is able to go out and hunt his own food or fish his own food, for that matter. Yeah. But for the people in the cities and everything, it's basically a food desert. They have to go to the supermarket, and what do they find in their supermarkets? It's usually processed food. Super unripe fruit imported from somewhere else, from super far away. Really, if you would have all the money in the world, you just put it on the table, but you wouldn't get any good food because there is none. Yeah, there is none. And if you go to a restaurant and order some super nice food, then it's going to be super freaking expensive, and it's not affordable for the average small person. Yeah. So what I want to say with all these comparisons here and stuff like that is that just because the mainstream wants to tell you the story that you are living in the Garden Eden and that it's so amazing where you are in your Western civilization and everything is so, there is so much law and order and so much security and everything. For me, these things do not really count. For me, what counts is having access to good food and that it is affordable. Yeah? And I have much better results when it comes to these characteristics. For example, in Greece, because in Greece I can go to the fisherman who's just riding back into the harbor, and I can buy from him directly one fish for €3, and I have a perfect meal. Perfect dinner for me and my girlfriend at the beach, and it's just amazing that way. Yeah, this is affordable, and this is just excellent food. So what's going to happen in the future is, of course, that since the world is developing into a certain direction, is that these things are going to continue. Yeah. So what we see nowadays in Norway with smart cities and with cameras around every corner and stuff like that, this is of course is it's going to come down. Yeah, it's going to be in Germany, then it's going to be in Austria and stuff like that. And for me, I have the feeling, if I want to live this cozy lifestyle and have access to food sovereignty, have access to small little family farms, which are going to get more and more down regulated and which are going to die out more and more, well, I have to simply at some point move into a poorer country, yeah, quote unquote, because there these things still exist, these basic things in life. Yeah. And of course, when it comes to things like the big sea and stuff like that, they handle the big sea also completely differently. And for me, this is not a problem because I'm not particularly afraid of the big sea. Yeah. This is all these things matter to me. Um, this is what I meant. This is what I was talking about last stream when I said, keep your eyes open. Yeah. Try to spot these moves where they usually will. First of all, what they will do is they create fear from something that is not really existing or is not really having such a big impact on your life as they tell you. First of all, they did this. They were really good with doing this for a long time with global warming and the climate catastrophe and everything. But yeah, the reality is that 30 years later, we're still there. Yeah, and the trees are still standing. The flowers are still blooming. All the birds are still singing. Every year there's snow. Every year there's rain. Every year there's bushfires, just like it was 100 years ago, okay? So to create such an immense fear about that is kind of weird to me. The same thing is true for the big sea, that they create this kind of fear about it. Although I never knew anybody who had it, or let alone anybody who had suffered some serious consequences from it, this is kind of strange to me, okay? So what they do is, and this is a very common strategy, they create fear from something so that in the next step they can sell you security. They call it security when it in reality is control. Yeah. And this is what they will do. They will sell security. They will sell control actually, but it will be disguised as security, and the people will take it gladly. Okay, they will want it that way. Yeah. And all these things, they are very, very questionable. And it is just that way, so that in more developed Western civilizations, these things occur more than in poorer countries, because usually in poorer countries, people are living much simpler lives. They are much more grounded. They don't care so much about the mainstream media. They rather listen to their own senses, and they make up their own world that way. Yeah, they are not so gullible. Okay, that could be a word that I'm looking for here. So yeah, you get where I'm coming from here. You have to have open eyes nowadays. If you see that these developments take a crazy extent, go to the extreme at some way, then you have to be prepared that you maybe have to move. Yeah, if you want to keep up a good quality of life. Because what's going to happen is, once they have this control, then they will utilize it. Yeah, this is how it always occurred in history, and they will utilize it to increase the gap between the top 1% and the bottom 99% even more. And if you are on on the bottom 99%, well, then you didn't pick the lucky card. Yeah, unfortunately, and then you will have to act accordingly. Is it the very long general answer to a very short general question? But if you want me to go into more detail, you can ask some more specific stuff again. I'm not afraid to talk about this stuff. I think it is actually very interesting. I think it is so interesting that we are living in so interesting times, like there has never been before in history. Yeah? It was all, since there is civilization. Actually, civilization itself has no other purpose than to allow a very small group of people to dominate over a very big group of people. Yeah, this was always the case with civilization. In a non-civilized society, people are relatively equal. There is maybe a tribe leader, but then there is a tribe of maybe 50 people, and then 50 kilometers more to the north, there's the next tribe, and maybe they make some little war from time to time. Yeah, they beat their heads in and stuff. But it is kind of an equilibrium like that. Everybody usually has roughly the same living conditions. In a civilization, we see that there is a small group of people at the top and a big group of people at the bottom. And we nowadays live in a very, very, very civilized world, where there's a very, very, very small group at the very top and a very, very huge group at the bottom. And to still uphold this kind of system without without this house of cards to collapse takes crazy steering of the population like that. So there's a lot of propaganda out there. Yeah, it's a very deep topic. Isaac Ruby says, so much climbing is a beautiful thing. Yeah, climbing is a beautiful thing. Even inside of these crazy times that we are living in, still you can go out and you can go into nature, you can go into nice rock and climb some rock and see that everything still works fine. The birds are still singing, the flowers are still blooming. How do you cope with being alone on a climbing trip, says Torben Busiek. Do you search for climbing buddies or do your thing? Well, if you want to climb routes, if you want to rock climb, then you have to search for buddies, right? You need someone to belay you. The thing is, what I always did is when I was alone, I was simply walking up to people. I was walking up to popular crags and then just simply see if there was people of three, groups of three. Usually these people can use some fourth person, because then they are more efficient, Then you can make two groups of two instead of one group of three. You can get a higher attempt frequency, and everybody is going to be more happy than if they would have stayed in three people. Yeah. And I'm quite confident in what I'm doing. I can belay quite properly and everything, so I'm not afraid to do that. Of course, it's a different thing when you're a super beginner and you're walking up to people and you want them essentially to teach you how everything works. Although I would be pretty sure that even that, a lot of people in the climbing community would do that. Yeah, because the climbing community is a very open-minded community, is usually very happy to invite other people into their groups. Our Lassie 2 says, many not so relevant anymore, but what do you think about the sponsoring of free soloers? That's an interesting question. The sponsoring of free soloers. I think your point is that by sponsoring free soloers and giving them a huge platform and stuff like that, it's kind of dangerous that way, because it encourages a lot of people out there to do free soloing or try this as well. And probably a lot of people could get into trouble that way. I mean, they see somebody doing this, right? And it looks so easy, it looks so effortless. And then they think, okay, let's try this. It's got to be an amazing feeling. And then, of course, they see that they don't have the mental strength, they have a mental breakdown, and then they get into trouble, or they're just simply too weak, or they're just simply losing a foot or something like that. So that, they can get into trouble, essentially get severely hurt. I think that's your point. I think, why not? Why not sponsor free soloers? Why not make movies about free soloing? I made a small little video about my first free solo experience as well. You know why? Because people out there decide over their own fate, and they have these are adult people, okay? They can decide over these things themselves. It's their responsibility, and if they wanna put their life at risk, then it is their responsibility. Just because someone else is doing that, and then again someone else has filmed that doing that, you know what I mean? It's kind of would you not show any films about Mount Everest or something like that? Climbing Mount Everest is a super dangerous thing. Now, because of these films, arguably so, a lot of people now actually travel to the Mount Everest, and crazy crowds of people are actually walking onto the Mount Everest, paying the Sherpas to carry their backpack, yeah, of course. And a lot of people die up there actually nowadays. A lot more people die up there today than a couple of years ago, probably, because there is this Mount Everest tourism going on nowadays. And a lot of people are just simply not fit enough for this kind of thing, yeah. So again, would you not show any Mount Everest films because it's irresponsible, because the people put themselves at risk as a what's the word? As a oh man, I need to look this word up now. As a Folge, as a consequence. Yeah, of course, as a consequence, they put their lives at risk. Ed Cunningham says, where do you want to go in climbing if/when you've climbed your 9A project? Yeah, I've talked about this last stream already briefly. So hard to say, man. If I did let's assume I would be able to climb this thing. It would be a huge, yeah, I would celebrate hugely, obviously. I would not drop climbing completely. As I've said in the past, I'm a generalist. For me to do something more than 11 years is takes quite some discipline. So probably I would not go as much balls to the walls inside of climbing as I did so far. I would take it a little bit easier, also considering the family stuff and everything. I would take it a little bit easier and still keep climbing, because I think it's an awesome sport, and you can visit so many new areas, you can visit so many new places, so many new people. All these are things that I like about outdoor rock climbing, especially. And that's why I would still keep going, of course. But I'm a realist, okay? I'm a realist. I think that upholding this kind of level for a absurd amount of time is also going to take a toll on your body. Yeah, how many life years are you going to lose during this process? You can do this as long as you're quite young. I'm 29 now, so I consider myself still quite young, although in terms of climbing, I'm already, when it comes to peak performance, peak physical performance, that is, quite on the older side, actually. But I have more experience and more knowledge about the sport than ever before. So I consider this very valuable when it comes to climbing as well. And this is, in fact, very valuable. This is the reason why there is so many old dogs crushing hard in climbing, yeah, because it is actually valuable. But yeah, it takes a toll on your body. And yeah, once I can climb my 9A, I can claim mastership in this sport anyway. Then I don't need to prove anything anymore. So that's kind of how I look at it. Yeah. So I'm gonna probably take it a little easier and then see how everything develops. Yeah. Ole says, denkst du, das Risiko von Verletzungen steigt mit dem Körpergewicht, da dadurch die Gelenke stärker belastet werden? Do you think the risk of injuries is increasing with increasing body weight, because there's obviously more force on the tendons and joints? Yes, I think so, that especially if you've got some weight to lose and you have your finger strength to body weight ratio is quite on the body weight side still, then you have to be careful with cranking down small holds. Yeah? Even if you have the feeling that you can hold them quite well, you have to be careful, because yeah, if there's 10 kilograms pulling more on those fingers than what these fingers are actually naturally used to, because we're coming from a world, evolutionarily speaking, where we have climbed a lot in trees and everything, but we probably didn't carry a lot of extra weight back then. Yeah, so probably all these joints and tendons, they are quite used to our natural body weight. But my natural body weight is around 65 kilograms probably, and not 80 kilograms. If I would be 80 kilograms, I would be overweight. And if I would do the same thing that I do now with my 80 kilograms, I would have injured my fingers probably. Yeah. So obviously, yes. If you have some weight to lose, that's the question. Yeah. If you have the feeling that you are heavier at the moment than your natural healthy body weight would be normally, then you should be careful and lose the weight, obviously, if you can, and go harder then. It's going to be a lot easier to go harder then anyway. Matthias Ladstätter said, if you want to climb in winter, you could visit the Falkenstein in Osttirol. On nice days, the sun hits the crag the whole day, and you can even climb shirtless sometimes. Routes up to 8B/C. Sounds nice, man. Sounds nice. Music Scholar says, my dream is to someday hang the 1 millimeter edge, so I will become Spider-Man. Even the blankest walls would be possible then. Is 1 millimeter even possible? No, it's not. I can spoil that right away for you. No, it's not. I think some of the smallest edges that still make sense are something like 4 millimeters or something. 4 millimeters. I think last hangboard session I attacked the micros again and I hung the 6 millimeters a couple of times, still taking quite a bit of hesitation to the 5 millimeters that I also have on my hangboard. But yeah, I don't think that it's healthy to go even lower than that, because you're really then at this point holding with your joints the most weight and not with any active muscle. Yeah, but it's kind of like in Shaolin Kung Fu, where they harden their joints by punching into sandbags or stuff like that. Of course, you can also adapt your joints to this kind of stimulus, to just simply super small climbing holds, super small edges, by cranking down these super small edges during fingerboard sessions. This is what I call micro hangboarding, and I think that is actually pretty effective when it comes to high performance outdoor climbing, because there usually holding crappy holds is where it's at. This is where the grade comes. Yeah. Ooh, chat is jumping down. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna simply read a couple of the more current comments and see how everything develops. Okay, so here we have RRR Lassie2 says, in Denmark, around 150 people die every day. 60 people died while having C in total, which is the way they do statistics on C. Yeah, so the way they usually do it, if you have had a positive C test and you die from any cause, you're counting as a death from C. Yeah. So take that for what it's worth. Yeah, and then you see these curves and everything. What I ask myself is, how is the real world? What can I see on the street? Yeah, if this was the super dangerous pandemic, wouldn't there be obvious signs on the street? Wouldn't there be people constantly coughing around, sneezing noses everywhere, people struggling breathing? Nothing of that sort. Nothing of that sort. In fact, I don't even know anyone who had it. Yeah, I don't know anyone who had it, and my girlfriend, her whole family also doesn't know anyone who had it. Yeah, so this is it's kind of weird that this is so blown out of proportion. Yeah, average age is 82 years. Yeah, man. Gesmatab says, would you move back to the city if you'd get a well-paid job in your scientific profession? Of course, if the job is interesting to you. Good question. The thing is, if I would do this job in a big city, I would probably do it at some sort of laboratory. And lab work is really not my thing. I've tried this in the masters when I studied biology for the masters for one year. I wouldn't say it was a waste of my time, because also I learned a lot there. But what I definitely saw is that lab work and the people also in labs who work in labs, it's not really my thing. Yeah, because you're enclosed by walls all the time. You're waiting for some machines to be ready all the time. You're waiting for the centrifuge. You're waiting for the oven or whatever you're waiting for. Yeah, this is kind of the lab hustle, I would say. And I don't really like that. And also the people who work there, they don't seem to me as they are the happiest people out there. They drink a ridiculous amount of coffee. During every one of their breaks, they go out on the balcony and smoke a cigarette or stuff like that. So and this is their grind, yeah, every day. And then they get a little bit of money from some kind of science forum or whatever, and to investigate another protein or stuff like that. And then they are super happy, and they can write their next paper, so to say. Yeah. So this is I don't know, to me this kind of lab routine didn't really work. And this is probably what I would have to do in a big city, so I wouldn't do that. What I would, of course, be willing to do is, for example, studying some bird populations in some kind of mountain area or something, where you could maybe also climb a bit. Wouldn't that be great? Yeah. But usually these kind of biology outdoor jobs, they are really rare, and you have to be really lucky to find something like that. Yeah. So yeah, hard to do. Paul B says, and do you wear face? Okay, you've said something as well before. Thanks for answering. So do you plan to move away from Austria? If yes, what time are we talking here? What's your opinion on the reason for the climate change thing? Liebe Grüße aus Tirol. Uh, it is a possibility for me. Yeah, I mean, it's not like Austria is the paradise on earth or something like that way. Yeah, the system here is really uh, harsh from time to time. Yeah, I mean, harsh. It's a golden cage. Okay, it's a golden cage. If you like golden cages, a wolf still doesn't like a cage. Okay, so that's the problem here. Of course, there's a lot of people who will say, well, you can't have it really a lot any better in the world, and this is definitely true. The cage is very golden, but it's still a cage. That's how I feel about it. And yeah, if it's getting too if it's getting too tight in here, then I'm very well ready to move away as well. What's your opinion on the reason for the climate change thing? Liebe Grüße aus Tirol. The climate change thing. Yeah. So let's talk about climate change a little bit, I guess. Should we talk about climate change as well? Okay, yeah. So climate change, all right. The climate is changing, okay? The climate is changing. It always is changing. It always is changing. We're undergoing warm and cold periods all the time on this planet. This is completely normal. This is like the seasons, okay? The seasons are also always changing. And you wouldn't say in summer, oh my God, there's a new ice age coming because there's coming winter. No, winter comes every year once, and that's it. So every 20,000 years comes a little ice age, and then there comes a little warm period like that. Yeah. Climate is always changing. And additionally, onto that, the climate in certain spots is always changing as well on the globe. Yeah, so there's areas nowadays where it's getting warmer, and there's areas nowadays where it's getting colder, actually. Okay, there is glaciers which are melting, and then there is glaciers which are growing as well. Yeah, so both these things exist. Now, to claim that just everything is getting warmer is just a super generalized move. Okay, so already this is questionable. Then to claim that this warming effect is caused by humanity is also is questionable. Yeah, this is questionable. If somebody tells you that with 100% certainty, they are simply talking about something that they cannot know for sure. Yeah, it's impossible. Do you have any idea of how big the world is? Yeah, the globe is huge. The atmosphere is so huge. There is so much material in there, and then we've got the whole oceans and everything. I mean, okay, people talking about rainforests and stuff like that. Yeah, we've got deforestation. It's a big problem. Of course, on other places in the world, the forest is actually growing, but nobody talks about that. Yeah, it's always the deforestation that gets pushed. It's always the wood fires that get pushed. Yeah, in the big media and stuff like that. On other places on the earth, the forests are actually growing. Yeah. So it's kind of this, it's a very one-sided view on things. That's the first impression that you get. And if somebody tells you that, for example, the human-made CO2 emissions or something lead to this global warming, which again, even if it was existing, could be just a natural phenomenon, a cyclic phenomenon, yeah, from time to time, because the planet undergoes warm periods and cold periods. This is also a very vague claim. It's a very vague claim, because then there is one algae bloom in the Pacific Ocean, and this soaks up billions of tons of CO2, because these algae take out CO2 from the atmosphere. Well, actually, they take it out of the water, and then it dissipates from the atmosphere back into the water, because plants, as we know, they use CO2 to build up their carbon structures, to build up their bodies, essentially, to build up the cellulose and everything. So there's huge fluctuations like that. And then there is one bloom, and then there is one volcanic eruption, and one volcanic eruption emits as much CO2 as the whole of Europe in 1 year or something like that, or even more. Yeah. So we are talking about effects here which are super hard to measure and super hard to calculate. So I don't know what kind of systems they use to come to all these conclusions. What I do know is that there are still super cold winters somewhere out there. There are still super cold winters here in Austria. Yeah. What I can see definitely, and this is true, I admit, is that in Austria, the glaciers are definitely getting a little smaller. Yeah, they are. There is a glacier called Pasterze, I think, on the Großglockner, which has gotten a lot smaller and a lot less deep over the last 50 years or something. There's actually photos of the Pasterze, and there is a line on the rock where you can see how it's actually shrinking and everything. So this is definitely true. In Austria, some glaciers are definitely they are definitely not growing, they are shrinking. Yeah. Now, whether that's completely natural, we don't know. Yeah, that's just the way it is. Then you look on the other side of the planet. You could have, for example, looked to Greenland, and there is one super huge glacier which is floating into the sea, which is actually growing. Yeah, I don't know the names of all these things, but if you want to get another opinion on all of these stuffs, an opinion that is critical and that questions the mainstream opinion, which you usually get from the mainstream media, I can very much recommend a channel called Tony Heller. Okay, you can check out Tony Heller. This is good stuff, because he dissects really well how the mainstream media often actually counter arguments itself when it's trying to portray a certain picture from somewhere around the globe, because that's what they do, right? There's wood burnings on one end of the world, and on the other end there is record low temperatures and record blizzards and everything. And what do? Well, of course, they spotlight completely the wood burnings. And so if you're watching mainstream media, it really looks like the world is on fire constantly. You could as well, of course, watch out of your window, your own freaking window, and see that still everything is pretty much the same. Yeah. But people don't do that. People like to sensationalize. People are getting drawn to sensationalistic content. So they watch the news, and then they have this kind of picture from the world. Yeah. The reality is that there's places on this earth where it's getting colder. There's places on this earth where it's getting warmer. The reality is as well that according to mainstream media, the Maldive Islands should have been underwater 30 years ago or something, because of the rise in sea level that never has occurred. Yeah, that never occurred. And they show you pictures of how big ice blocks are falling into the water because these glaciers are melting Whereas in reality, glaciers are floating, okay? Glaciers are floating from inland to outland to the coast, and then they are simply floating into the sea. And in this process of floating into the sea, of course, walls of glacier are breaking down. And then they film just these events and they sell you this as, oh man, climate change, we're all gonna die, blah, 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 blah. Again, we've talked about this already. It's a nice tool to create fear in the population, and a fearful population is very influenceable. Okay, you can steer it very easily into a certain direction that you want it to have. So I'm also skeptic when it comes to all these subjects. Yeah, really trust your own senses. Trust your own senses, and definitely get a second opinion on these things. Okay, definitely get a second opinion. The unfortunate truth is that you will not hear a second opinion on the mainstream anymore. Yeah, the mainstream always tells you a very one-sided story. If you want a good second opinion, you have to carefully search on social media. And also there, these second opinions, unfortunately, are getting heavily censored. They are having a really hard time getting through, obviously, into the algorithms and stuff like that. Yeah. So, we're still living in the information age. We're quite close to the disinformation age as well already, but we're still living in the information age. If you're a smart person, you can selectively, select your content wisely, and thereby try to get an as accurate picture of the truth as possible. Yeah, mainstream media is supposed to be non-biased and neutral, but unfortunately, this is not the case for a long time anymore. Yeah, so much about the climate change thing. Yeah, we could talk into more detail about that as well, but let's go further to the next question. So many touchy subjects today, man. I'm sweating. I need to sip from the live stream receptacle. Davide. Welcome back to the stream, man. How are you doing? Hello, Manny. Would you completely resole your shoes, toe caps included, with XS Edge 36 euros, C4 38 euros, or XS Grip 18 euros? And different and not that good shoemaker, but still okay. Okay, I would of course I would not go for the XS Grip option. Yeah, XS Grip is just a money blower in my opinion, because this rubber is not gonna last very long. Okay, let's put it that way. The XS Edge is already a lot better, but still, for me, the best rubber is the Stealth rubber, which they used for the 510 teams for a long time, and for a lot of other 510 shoes as well. You've not listed the Stealth, so I must assume that your resoler doesn't have it in stock, which is pretty unfortunate. The C4 thing, I don't know. But essentially, if you have something harder as an option than the XS Edge, I would go even for that harder thing. So if the C4 is harder than the XS Edge, I would go for the C4. If it's softer, then I would go for the XS Edge. Yeah, if that's your only options. Paul B says, and do you wear face masks in places where it is obligated? Well, I don't wear face masks because face masks inhibit my breathing, and that's completely unnecessary. So what I do is I have a face shield like that, like the doctors, like all the doctors and the healthcare practitioners and stuff like that. They have a face shield, so I can do it with a face shield as well. And with a face shield, you can perfectly well breathe. Nobody is angry at you because you're not wearing a face mask or anything like that, because you have a protective stuff, right? Jordan Heller says, thinking of buying a home wall with limited space, would a Moonboard be a good idea, or is it too specialized? Should I just train strength? I mainly do bouldering. Moonboard is always awesome. Yeah, and Moonboard, if you have the space for it, is amazing for training as well. I can highly recommend it. Why? Because the climber is always a collector, as I've said, and with the Moonboard system, you can start actually collecting collecting problems, yeah, like that. And it's going to motivate you a lot more than just simply trying to set your own problems and then resetting the wall from some time the problems are gone, like that. Yeah, so a moonboard kind of psychologically is very nice to train on, I think. Ed Cunningham says, when you approach new people at cracks to belay you, are you not concerned about their belaying skill as you're putting your life in the hands of a stranger, especially when they use an ATC? Look, if someone belays with a gree, I'm fine with that usually. Yeah. With a gree, very little things can go wrong. The gree saved my life a couple of times already, or at least saved me from a severe injury a couple of times already. So I trust the gree more so than actually the person who is behind the gree and using it. Yeah. So if this person belays with a gree, I'm fine with it. If they belay with a tuber, no, of course not. Yeah. But I'm also hesitant to let myself be belayed with a tuber from people I know. Yeah. Tubers are just not as safe. That's the unfortunate truth. That they are not semi-automatic. And if there's all of a sudden his friend attending at the crag and he has to turn away and say hello to his friend, and I fall at the same time, maybe he's not holding the braking rope super tightly, then I pull the braking rope, then the braking rope slips out of his hand, then he needs to catch it again quickly, he doesn't get it, and then I lie on the ground. He can be the best belayer and the best person and my best friend and everything, but because it was a tuber, he messed this one up. Yeah, because his friend attended at the crag at the right time and place, or rather at the wrong time and place, and this is why I'm sitting on the floor now. Yeah. With a gree, this cannot happen because a gree just simply blocks if there is too much rope drag in the gree, which is when you fall essentially, which is when you, at least if you're not using a super thin rope, a slippery rope in a super thick gree. Yeah. So that's what I want to say here. Trust your belaying devices. Yeah. Not necessarily the people who belay you. And also, there's a lot of people who tell you they are the best belayers when in fact they don't have a lot of experience at all and have very sloppy belaying, maybe even. Davide says, how often do you drink alcohol or eat junk food? At the moment, not at all, because most alcohol at all actually is pretty carb-like. It's pretty similar to sugar and is also undergoing very similar metabolic processes in the liver and stuff. So I'm staying away from it at the moment completely. Normally, if I'm eating normal stuff, I drink one beer maybe from time to time. I think on average, maybe 2 beers per week or something. That's my normal alcohol consumption. But yeah, nowadays I'm completely off it because I want to do this diet experiment of mine, which is essentially zero carbs. Yeah. And I can only do that with zero alcohol as well. Otherwise, I would blur my results, and I don't want that because this experiment is too much effort anyway already. So I don't want to make it useless, essentially. Paul B says regarding Arvay, they also added his Wikipedia full time to make him look less trustworthy. Maybe his new book sells very good, and he talks about the sea in a skeptical way. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I mean a lot of people talk about the sea in a skeptical way, right? The question really is how deep do you want to be skeptic? So there's people out there who actually believe that the whole germ theory is a mess, okay, and is actually should have never become the main mode of action, so to say, when it comes to these things. There's people out there who say that viruses are not even out there to infect people or are transmittable or anything like that. They are just simply solvents in the body, which are already in our DNA, and our body utilizes them from time to time to get rid of damaged tissue cells, which have no other means to kind of get out of the body, something like that along these lines. And then there is flu season and stuff like that, because It's just so that when it's getting a little colder towards winter, it triggers these kind of detoxification mechanisms in the body, and then the body creates these solvents, and these solvents actually dissolve damaged and toxic cells, and this way the body gets them out of his system essentially. And because all of the people around him are doing the same processes roughly at the same time, it looks like there is flu season and people infect one another, when in fact just all the people have these same detox mechanisms because they are living in the same toxic environment, and they are living the same toxic lifestyles, right? So I mean, there's so many theories out there, man, as to why this could be BS essentially. um the thing is, I can't really prove anything. I don't have a lab. Yeah, I don't have any scientific. I mean, I have a microscope. I have a couple of tools actually to where I assess my own health and the health of others. Yeah, with very simple tools and very um, you can see results very obviously there. Yeah, you don't have to wait for a PCR test or something, which is a very very abstract result in my opinion. And then simply the PCR test also has a 90% accuracy. So in 10% of the cases, you get a false positive or a false negative. Yeah. So take that. I mean, this is of course blurring the numbers extremely as well. Um, so yeah. If you're talking about this whole stuff with serious virologists, they will tell you that it's pretty much blown out of proportion. This is used as a propaganda tool in the meantime, and you should be very open-eyed and open-eared and see what kind of policies they enforce because of that, because it's just completely ridiculous, the regulations and everything that they put about because of this stuff. It looks rather to me than the regulations are what it's all about, and the reason for these is actually negligible. Yeah, this is what I can sense with my senses, and this is nowadays what I trust full force, nothing else anymore. Yeah, because I know that I know from other stories that the mainstream is essentially there to steer the minds of the masses into a certain direction, and yeah, this direction is very questionable. Gasmatab says, exactly, Paul. It's insane. He is a scientist and backs all his work up. Credibility, I on him. Credibility, I on him big time, and they try to degrade him to a conspiracy theorist. You should check him out on YouTube, Manny. Okay, I will do that. I will do that. Especially if he's an Austrian. That's interesting that some people in Austria have the balls to do this kind of stuff, because usually that doesn't happen in Austria. People are just too laid back and chill. Anthony Sandry. What's up, Anthony? Hi, Manny. I just finished high school and cannot decide what to do / study in my life. Ooh. Okay. Any tips from an older guy? You did biology, right? Yes, I did biology. Do you still have to do your military? Well, if you have, then do that first. Maybe you get a couple of other ideas during that time. But okay, let's assume you already did that. I would ask myself in your shoe. If I was in your shoes, I would seriously ask myself what I want to excel in life. What do I want to do in life? Okay. If it's something athletic, if it has something to do with a sport, then you should be prepared for a hard battle if you want to earn money with this sport. If you want to do a professional sport, that it's going to be super hard, because the competition nowadays is super big. Yeah, if you don't have the genetics for it, you won't have a chance really. So then you need some kind of plan B, which is how you get money essentially. Yeah, how you earn a living. try to find something that you would do anyway because it's so awesome. For example, for me, that plan B always would have been being a carpenter. Yeah, a carpenter is an amazing job in my opinion. You work with a lot of wood. I really like that. I like the texture. I like this kind of resource wood is just amazing. It's also super ecologic. It's regrowing. Yeah, you can do so much stuff with wood. um yeah, that's what I would have chosen if I would have to do a kind of a handsy job like that. Yeah. In the end, it turned out to be video making. Yeah, for me, video making is also something that I really like. To me, it's in terms of an ideal dream job. For an ideal dream job, it's still a little bit too much in front of a PC, in front of a screen. If I could have a little bit less screen time editing and stuff like that, I would be a little more happy maybe, but it's still quite okay for me. Yeah, even the editing process is quite a lot of fun actually for me a lot of the time. So yeah, that's just how it turned out for me. uh, don't study because you don't know what else to do. Yeah, do not do this. Try to sit down in a dark room, in a completely dark room, and sit there for 20 hours and think about what the hell you want to do in life. Okay, do you want to build violins? Do you want to build guitars? Do you want to build bows? Do you want to shoot bows? Do you want to be a professional archery dude? Do you want to be a swimmer? Do you want to be a scientist? Do you want to be a doctor? Maybe you want to be a doctor who wants to take health seriously and really wants to take I mean, then you will have to go quite against the system, unfortunately. But there is doctors like that out there, yeah, who really have dedicated their work towards real health. And this is also something that I very much respect because it's actually very hard in nowadays worlds. Yeah, in nowadays worlds, it's very easy to earn money by doing something that feeds the system rather than which is against the system. Okay, money and the salary that you get nowadays is just it is absolutely disconnected with the real value that you produce. Yeah. So for a doctor, for example, a doctor, the real value that a doctor should produce, and it is actually the most important and most valuable real value out there, is health. Yeah, this is what a doctor should produce. But what a modern doctor does instead is prescribing medication. Yeah, medication is never a way to real health. Medication is just a way of suppressing symptoms, and this is something that does not really help the people, but rather helps the system. Yeah, the system profits from that greatly because it supports big pharma. It writes dark numbers on some sort of paper, which is their, the how much GDP or something this company produced that year or something. Yeah, and this system is just set up in a way that we want to see as high as possible black numbers below the line at the end of the year. Yeah, and if a company does that, then that's great. So this is what the system wants. So as you can see, and jobs are just set up that way. If you enter a job nowadays that supports this system, you will get a huge salary. This does not have anything to do with the real value that you produce. Yeah, if you are a doctor out there who's actually trying to produce real value and real health, you will find that the salary of this doctor is a lot smaller. Yeah, because he's gonna sell less medication. Yeah, he's gonna sell less drugs. He's gonna go against the system probably in a lot other ways as well. And this way is not gonna earn a lot of money. Yeah, as a politician, for example, you will have a very high salary as well, usually, because politicians are very necessary to keep the system running as it is, because politicians give people a illusion of choice. Politicians are very, very necessary to keep the system going as it is nowadays, because otherwise people would have revolted a long time ago probably. But because there is many different parties, and you in a beautiful, wonderful democracy that we have nowadays, you as the small little pleb, you have the choice Okay, so it's your own fault if something goes wrong in your country because you have voted for these people, right? Whereas in fact, it's just an illusion of choice. The world is moving into a certain direction anyway, completely independently on whether party is in power or whether president is in power. However, politicians are, as you can see, very necessary to keep the system running like that. And this is why their salary is usually very high. And this is also why nowadays they even have to make advertisement for politics. Yeah. Because the trust in politics is just so, is it in a record low. And now they have to put money into elections so that people go actually to vote. And this is so pathetic. This is, if this was a real choice, all of this stuff wouldn't be necessary. Yeah, this wouldn't be necessary. There wouldn't be so much money involved. Politics nowadays is an illusion of choice, and it's just entertainment. And the actors in this kind of game are the politicians themselves, and they get, of course, a high salary because they are very necessary to run the system, just like lawyers do, and all of these other people. Yeah, if you are necessary for the system, you get a higher salary nowadays. If you're producing a real value and are necessary for the system, like for example car mechanic and stuff, then you can still earn quite an okay salary. But if you're only producing real value and you are going in fact against the system, you will have to live with the fact that you will get a very low salary. Yeah. So all these things I would consider when I would choose my profession. And is there anything much more to say? It's a tricky world out there. Yeah, you have to steer your way through it. That's what I can say for sure. I did biology. Yeah, that's correct. I did biology, and I do not regret it. Biology is an awesome subject. Yeah, it's very grounded, very down to earth, and just observing mechanisms in nature and drawing your conclusions from that. And you can almost never go wrong by doing it that way. Yeah, trusting your own senses. Ed Cunningham says, "Why do you think that hard climbing takes a toll on the body?" I personally don't think that it will unless you are overtraining. Definitely don't think it will take off life years. Yeah, so the truth is that any unnecessary calories that you burn will take off life for years, will take a toll on your body. Because you have to resynthesize those enzymes, you have to reutilize your DNA. And as you know, we only have so many DNA splits in our lives. We have only so many cell divisions zur Verfügung available, yeah, in our lives. This is essentially the process of aging. Yeah, so you can age yourself, of course, with a number of mechanisms. You can eat the wrong foods. You can overeat on macros, yeah, which is a very common one nowadays. You can over-exercise. As the smartest hunters out there, and we are usually, as humans, we are quite smart hunters. The smartest way to catch a prey is to set a trap, essentially. Yeah, because setting a trap is very little effort from a calorie point of view, and a lot of other smart animal hunters do it the same way. Actually, yeah, they hunt in groups, then they encircle their prey and set traps like that. It's not like the standard picture where you see that animals are running like miles and miles after this one little piece of prey, and then sometimes this occurs, but this is not a very efficient way of hunting. Yeah, this usually the most efficient way of hunting, for example, is to set traps. So it's a very calorie sparing way of hunting, and this is rewarded by nature a lot because you don't have to burn so many calories. You have a more easy life. This is also why all animals, including ourselves, are lazy. Yeah, the laziness instinct is to protect your calories, to protect you from overusing your calories, essentially. And this way, you don't age as much as you need. Yeah, and you don't age as much as you would if you would run all the time, for example. Yeah. It's a very deep topic, man. What I can say is that sports in general and athletics nowadays are viewed in a quite unrealistic light, because a lot of people think, for example, that sports are needed and athletics are needed to be healthy. Yeah. So that first comes the sport and then comes health, where in fact it's just the other way around. And sport, in fact, can be a very unhealthy thing. Yeah. In fact, you need health first of all so that you can even excel in sports, because sports has such a negative impact on your body that you need to compensate it with a lot of health so that you can actually take it. And I tell you what, you can only take it for so much time. Yeah. And you can take it a lot better when you're young. You can also eat a lot of different foods when you're young, and a lot of carbs when you're young. You can metabolize and burn that stuff quite well still when you're young. But when you're getting older, you are actually going to notice that this stuff takes a toll on your body. Okay. And that you're going to lose your teeth. You're gonna have wrinkles all over the body, spots on all over the body, and everything, because these all these the free radicals that you create while doing sports and all this kind of stuff, it takes a toll on your body. And hard climbing takes a huge toll on your body as well, in my opinion. Yeah. I can feel this every time when I'm coming home from a hard climbing day and I did a lot of attempts and it was cold outside, and I blew a lot of oxygen through my body, and I don't know, the skin is burning, just the general inflammation in the body is totally elevated, because everywhere there's little micro fractures and little micro, uh, you know, fissures in the tissue and everything, and in the muscles and in the tendons. And this stuff needs to be repaired. New collagen must be synthesized. New enzymes must be utilized. New DNA must be utilized. Yeah. I need more nutrients. I need more calories. So, yes, of course, obviously, this is going to be aging me more than if I would have just simply been at home that day and chilled. Yeah. And just burned my usual 2000 calories a day and essentially chilling out. Yeah. Now, the thing is that most people will say now, yeah, but then you get fat and then you get unhealthy. And then, yes, of course, you get fat and unhealthy if you eat the standard Western diet, which is provided for you nowadays via the big supermarkets, which we've talked about today as well already. This is not necessary though. Yeah. On an ideal diet, you would not get fat or any you would not get any unnecessary fat, I should say, because having quite a bit of fat on your body is actually pretty healthy. But having being overweight and stuff like that is, of course, not healthy. You can, by the way, spot this if you have this kind of cellulite-like fat, which is very blobby and soft. This is usually fat that the body does not want and is a sign of metabolic dysfunction. But if you have this kind of knackig, I don't know, how should I say, perky. If you have this kind of perky, nice skin and a little bit of a fat layer, this 1 centimeter of fat layer on you, and especially when it comes to women, by the way, they need this for their health, especially because they need to produce a lot of hormones. It could be that they get pregnant and they need this kind of calorie reserves and stuff like that. So that's another different story. But yeah, this is actually the ideal mode of the body, I would say. And the super lean shredded is actually unhealthy, just like the super overweight person. Yeah. And if you don't would eat all these carbs, if we don't would eat all these polyunsaturated fatty acids and stuff like that from the vegetable oils, which essentially come at you in the form of processed foods, which is what they sell you in supermarkets and so on, then you would not get overly fat, even sitting at home and only burning your 2000 calories. Yeah. Whether you are healthy or not does not depend on whether you do sports or not. Whether you're healthy or not depends, first of all, on your diet. Okay. And if you get, of course, it doesn't hurt to go outdoors and get some sunshine, because then you get some vitamin D. Breathe some fresh air from time to time. Yeah, this is good for oxygenizing the body and stuff. But to go beyond that, to really run like 20 miles a day or stuff like that, this is just overly stressing your body, and it's going to cost you a lifetime, definitely. And climbing 9A is also something like this. Yeah, unfortunately, I must say, it's a huge toll on the body. It's definitely not healthy. The question is, can you afford it with your health? And yeah, can you do it and at the same time minimize the damage that's coming at you while doing it? This is where it's getting interesting. And this is where I have talked about in another stream recently about the sniper projector, the sniper projecting climber, who gets really, really fit for a very, very short time, ticks off the project, and then goes on and lives a normal life. Yeah. Rather than just simply training ball the walls all year round and then, sending the project as well, but kind of destroying his whole body in the process. Yeah. So this is kind of how I look at these things, and from a modern perspective. Yeah. It's it's all not that black and white. There's a lot of nuance to all of these things. JK asks, do you believe in karma? To be honest, no, not really. Not really. I've seen people do a lot of bad things and not really get any bad, quote unquote. Yeah. Good or bad only exists in our minds. It doesn't exist in nature. In nature exists only reality and survivability. And if you have to do bad things in nature to survive, then nature is actually going to reward you for doing bad things. Yeah. So karma in nature definitely doesn't exist, because explain karma to a freaking hyena who rips a gnu apart while it's still alive. Yeah. It's not existing. Just like the thing with good or bad doesn't exist in reality. It's just something that we make up in our minds, the morals, yeah, which is something that we can do because we are so intelligent, and we also invent other things like mathematics, for example, which only exists in our head as well. Ooh, family enters the room. Torben Busiek asks an interesting question. Talk about this with I've talked about this with Mona actually a lot of times as well. You're always talking about them versus population when you talk about big topics. Who do you mean? The politicians, for example, don't know what they do either. Yeah, of course, because they are just paid actors to give you a false illusion of choice. Essentially, they are very necessary for this kind of system, as I've said before. In our So there's essentially two possibilities. Who is them? First of all, it's just simply the people who have a lot of money. Yeah. Because the world is set up in a way where money can go a long way in terms of power. It could be just that it's the people who have the most money. Yeah. The top 1%, essentially. And what I believe, though, is that they have so much money already that it's not really about getting even more of that, getting even more money, but rather it is getting even more power. Okay. What they do with this kind of money and how they steer it into certain directions, how they push certain countries into certain directions, because you have to realize that these people have ridiculous amounts of money. Okay. Like billions. So, there's a number of possibilities like that. Yeah. Is it the people who have the most money? Is it the people, maybe there's people out there who don't have a lot of money but have a lot of power for some reason? And you could also maybe it's also them, quote unquote, yeah, who push these developments forward. But yeah, it's a basically the people who steer the politicians as puppets, so to say. Yeah. Moonboard eats your skin in minutes. I think wood is better, like tension board. If I would build a training wall at home, I would definitely only use wooden holes, yeah, because as you said, you can sand them down really smoothly, and this way they don't use a lot of climbing skin, and they also don't use a lot of rubber of your climbing shoes, yeah. And that's amazing, and it actually really well mimics the greasy outdoor limestone holes, yeah. So if you want to train for limestone especially, then it's pretty good like that, I think. Jordan Heller says, yeah, I haven't tried a tension board, but I noticed it is pretty expensive, so I am leaning more towards the Moonboard. Alexis Fitzgerald says, what percentage of your income comes from YouTube now, Manny? It's roughly, how much is it? I would say it's roughly 70% or something. 70% comes from YouTube. The other 30% almost, or let's say the other maybe 25% or something, comes from my Patreons, my beloved Patreons. Yeah, big thanks to my Patreons out there. If there are any on the stream at the moment, let me know. I want to let you know that without your support, this project would have probably ended a couple of time ago, and I would maybe already do something completely else. Yeah, but with your help, it was doable. It was manageable to survive. But yeah, these are coming from Patreons, and the other stuff comes from training regimens and smaller little side stuff that I do from time to time. Music Scala says, do you think sometime in the future there will be gloves or something for climbing to enhance the grip? Perhaps someday we will have some carbon fiber shoes for climbing. I don't think so. Just the dexterity and the feeling that human fingertips and the skin give you on a climbing route are just, I think, very necessary actually for climbing performance. And it's really hard to mimic that with some sort of artificial layer above your fingers, right? You want to have this feeling. You want to feel the rock below you. You want to have the perfect connection, so to say, with what you're climbing. And I think that the rubber that we nowadays have on climbing shoes is actually pretty good. If it's not super soft, then it's going down like crazy. But if it's actually reasonably hard and you have good grip, and your fingers are just amazing when it comes to grip and feeling. Damn, the live stream receptacle already goes towards a shocking end, I must say. Paul B is there again. Thanks, man. To join the doctor conversation, do you think it is worth studying for 5 years? Also, a lot of stuff you are not interested in to be a doctor afterwards, just to have the academic title and work in a different way. The majority does it, but for that, you don't need all of the things you have to learn by heart in university. That's exactly the situation I am in at the moment. Yeah, I can very much feel you, bro. I can very much feel you. I've asked myself these questions as well. And in the end, for me, the question also was too, biology or medicine? Yeah, biology or medicine. These were the two that I was thinking about. And in the end, I think I've talked about in a previous live stream why in the end I picked biology over medicine. And the reason for that is that medicine usually looks at all systems from a illness and sickness point of view, and is thereby creating a lot of hypochondriacs. Yeah, whereas biology always looks at these systems, at the same systems, from a healthy and functioning perspective, and this is creating just this amazing trust in nature. And this is what I want to have. Yeah, I want to be able to trust nature. I'm just trusting it nowadays. Yeah, I'm just trusting it. There is no no little ache and stuff in my body that I'm just super conscious about. I think, okay, maybe I've overused this kind of structure a little bit. I'm gonna rest it a little bit, and my body is gonna heal it, and it just works amazingly all the time. Yeah, there is no need to super complicatedly interfere with that, especially, yeah, and there it comes to diet again. If you're on a clean diet, quote unquote, whatever that may be, I think theoretically, if humans would still have their original living conditions, I mean, don't get me wrong, nature is not perfect, yeah, but it has got a freaking lot of time to become to get close to perfect. So it's almost there. And our bodies, the way we are designed, it's just amazing. It's just amazing how we are designed, and yeah, we could call it perfect, yeah. But if also we would be still on a perfect diet, uh, we also would still live our perfect natural lifestyles, which is probably inside of a tribe, somewhere in nature, yeah, surrounded by fresh air and sunshine and maybe forests and wildlife. We would not have all the health problems that we have nowadays. I'm a firm believer into that. And in fact, this is proven by people who actually traveled to people who still live in their natural habitats and still live in the form of wild tribes, and they don't even know all the civilization diseases that we have nowadays. Yeah, like obesity, diabetes, heart attacks, and all the kind of metabolic stuff. They don't know it simply, yeah, because it's cancers doesn't exist there. Yeah. Now you could say, oh, these people, they only get 40 years old because then they die of a broken leg or something. Yeah, maybe they die of a broken leg, but if they don't break their leg, they actually become 80, 90, and 100 years old, yeah, as well. So it's not like this is completely this is only in the civilization that you can get so old. Well, if you can avoid the dangers of nature, you can still become that old in the wild as well. Yeah? But of course, living a wild, natural lifestyle is a lot more dangerous than our civilized lifestyle nowadays is. So you gotta take that into account when it comes to these statistics. Yeah. Also, they have quite a little bit more child mortality because they still put their childs also into contact with all the dangers that are out there, and they are thereby actually selected a lot more. And those who actually make it through this very harsh time in the beginning of their lives are actually about to become amazing human beings. Yeah, and this is another factor which is actually, if you're looking at it from a more critical perspective, is actually a good thing, quote unquote. Although yeah, good and bad doesn't really exist. But when it comes to health, if you would view health, maximum health, as a good thing, then that's actually good. Yeah. So all these things get into this consideration there. All the health ailments that we have nowadays are not necessary, and thereby all the pharmacists and all that stuff would actually not be so necessary. And the way a lot of doctors work nowadays would not be necessary. Yeah. But yeah, that's how the system is set up today. And as a doctor who wants to go against that, you will have a tough time. There's a couple of people out there who tried it, and they get their license taken away. They get into huge troubles with all the gremiums and stuff like that, which they are subjugated to. Okay, it's super harsh. Yeah, it's a harsh environment. Dios Sigue Natura says, "Hi Manny, I love vertical and slabs. I want to be better at it, but the gym's trend going on at the moment is nothing but overhang. And now even with when I got to font, my best sands are overhangs." How can I fight that? I feel that especially in modern climbing gyms, reasonably modern climbing gyms, you always have some sort of slabby problems as well. Some sort of slabby, technical, balancy dyno problems or some stuff. Why? Because usually also these problems exist in competitions even. Yeah. It is very rare that you have a competition, a bouldering competition that is, where every problem is just super overhanging. Usually you have at least one kind of technical slabby problem. Yeah. And I have made the experience that also in modern climbing gyms there is stuff like that. Uh, in very old school cellars where people train only for the outdoors, well, it can happen to you that you will only encounter super overhanging system walls and campus boards and stuff like that. Then it's of course hard to train for these kind of terrains, for slabs and technical walls. But in modern bouldering gyms, not so much. Well, how can you fight that? Find those modern bouldering gyms and look into their slabby wall, yeah, because they for sure will have it, at least according to my experience. And what always works the best is just simply go on slabby and technical vertical walls out in nature, because there's quite a few of them. Yeah, quite a lot of them, I should say. Um, Especially in old school climbing areas. Yeah, check out old school climbing areas. In Font, you have a lot of slabby problems as well, right? Super hard ones. So you can get really good at that as well there, I think. Alexis Fitzgerald says, asks an interesting question. So you're saying that to maximize one's longevity, you should just fast a lot and restrict calories, but never exercise at all. Uh, Not fasting, because fasting is a stress for the body as well, and fasting is not sustainable. So you can't fast forever. If you are fasting, you are eating your body. You are eating your own cells. You're eating your own calories essentially, and this, if you prolong this for too long, then you will get closer to death as well. The trick lies in eating the right things and eating with the right frequency. From my modern point of view, I must say what's probably the closest to ideal in that regard is a very low carbohydrate diet with lots of animal fat and a reasonable amount of animal protein as well, and with a very low eating frequency, probably something like 2 meals a day or something, one breakfast, one dinner, or even one meal a day. Yeah, something like that. Really just eating to replenish your own body cells, but not burdening them so much with exogenous fuel. Yeah, this is how I see it nowadays. Yes, I mean, never exercise at all. Just simply living and going about your life is exercise as well. Yeah, but living a stress-free life, this is what it's all about. Living a stress-free life. Everybody would agree that this is probably quite healthy. Yeah, everything is stress. Also, the run to the bus, or the run to the train, or whatever, or sitting in an office job and being shouted at by your boss. All these things are stressors in your life. I mean, this might be a psychological stress, yeah, being shouted at by your boss, but it's still gonna work with you. Yeah, it's still gonna drop your mood a little bit. It's still gonna makes you sleep at night a little worse. Yeah, all these stresses matters, and in general also physical stress. Yeah, and sport is a physical stress. Athletics is a physical stress. As I said, the body does not create muscles as a result from sport because the body wants to have more muscles and wants to be healthier like that, because more muscles are more healthy. No, not at all. If you remove the stimulus, the body will also remove the muscles because it doesn't need them. The body gives you more muscles as a result from sport because it wants to prevent that you ruin the tissue. And it's just so that a smaller muscle is easier ruined than a bigger muscle. Yeah. A bigger muscle is also stronger than a smaller muscle, so you can then also do much more cooler stuff with this bigger muscle and ruin that one again. And this way we can become fitter and fitter and trick our bodies into certain directions. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that that's healthy. The body reacts to these stimuli because it wants to prevent the tissue damage. Yeah, and thereby it's actually becoming fitter and fitter, able to burn even more calories, to do even more extreme moves and stuff like that. Is it healthy? That's questionable. Yeah, I don't think so at all anymore. And of course, you would also agree that being a bodybuilder, for example, is not healthy, right? Having these huge loads of muscle on you is not healthy. Having a decent amount of muscle, yeah, why not? But I tell you what, just simply having a quite a bit of musculature on your body increases your basal metabolic rate a lot, because muscle always takes calories just to be even upheld by the body. Yeah. Another reason why, as soon as you don't need them anymore, the body will actually start to break them down, because the body does not want to spend extra calories every day to uphold unnecessary muscle tissue, because this only gets him closer to death. Yeah, extra calories burned by the day get you closer to death. Yeah, you want to execute your basal metabolic rate, but not much more than that. Living a stress-free life, eating the perfect foods, and this is what actually this is what keeps health probably the longest, and thereby also gives you the longest longevity. Yeah. Ed Cunningham says, by that logic, a sedentary lifestyle would be the best, which is not true. There are studies on this. If you look at some of the hotspots of longevity, all the population live physically and mentally active lifestyles and retire much later than typical Westerners. I'm not so sure about that. Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. A, as I said, just go about your life and live a stress-free life. This is important. Yeah, this is important. Whatever that means to you, I'm pretty sure these people who who have nice physically and mentally active lifestyles, as you call them, they did not do any extreme sports or stuff like that. Yeah, they did not do any extreme sports. Probably they work in their garden a little bit and growing their fresh vegetables, getting out into the fresh air, getting some sunshine. And then they meet their peoples, they meet their neighbors, they go for a mini golf game, or they go to the beach and have a swim or stuff like this. Yeah, just simply living your life. I've seen a documentary about the Okinawans and stuff like that, and how they live your life. It doesn't look very stressed. Okay, they don't live a very stressful life, and this is why they get old like this. They also have an excellent diet. They have access to amazing seafood, and they have access to amazing pork, yeah, which they grow on their own island. There is the Okinawa pork. You can look it up yourself if you want. So all these stuffs give excellent nutrients, and alongside these stuffs, they grow their own vegetables and they eat some tubers and stuff like that. They have a very healthy community. They have a very social life, yeah, which is very important as well, to stay mentally sane, even in an old age. All these things matter, of course, yeah. Of course, if you are sitting really all the time at home on your ass watching TV, then this becomes a stressor to your body as well. And this is something that is to avoid as well. But just going about your life in a normal fashion, yeah, having your social interactions, but not torturing your body into some extreme sport or stuff like that. Yeah. Joey Logano says, "Can I ask you a question?" I agree. They have millions. Yes, the money tears people. Yes, the money tears people apart. Not necessarily, yeah, but yeah, money is a big factor. Me husband wants a divorce in 3 weeks. Oh man, how can I change his mind? You're asking too much from me, man. Or actually, I should say, probably it's a woman. Joey, sorry, you're asking too much from me. How can I evaluate your relationship here from the distance? That's not possible. I would have to know why he wants a divorce. You say it's because of is it because of the money? Maybe. Usually, husbands are having a harder time with money when they divorce than their wives. Oh, the little one entered the room. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Okay. Okay, I think the situation is solved. The situation is gonna be better in a second. Yeah, sorry, I can't really give you a good answer to that. Yeah, because I don't know your situation. I don't know your situation, but I feel it's very. Thanks for the trust to ask me this kind of stuff. Yeah, but I can't really help you there. Ed Cunningham says, with respect, there's no evidence whatsoever that exercise ages you. In fact, there are lots of evidence that opposes this. Really? Look at people who did a lot of extreme sports in their life. Yeah, look at when they retire. Look at how they retire. Yeah, what do they look like? What kind of problems do they have? If we're honest with ourselves, a lot of them retire because they just simply having an injury that doesn't go away anymore, or some sort of other kind of health concern that they have. Yeah. Look at it honestly, and yeah, whether there is obviously scientific evidence points towards the direction that sitting in front of a TV, which is a sedentary lifestyle, quote unquote, is not going to help people become super old and healthy. Because what are they eating while they are sitting in front of this TV? Yeah, they're eating chips and all that processed crap and whatnot. And this is what actually is hard on their body then in the context of this lifestyle. Yeah. I bet you that extreme sports is not gonna be healthy, and it's not gonna increase your lifetime. Yeah, it's not gonna increase your longevity, because you've said that exercise whatsoever, evidence that exercise ages you. A lot of exercise can definitely age you 100%. That's pure logic. It's pure logic. There are way more factors and more complexity in play than just cell division mechanisms. There are more factors for sure, yeah, but in the end, it's also just simply from a simple perspective, cell divisions in the end. Yeah, the bigger enzyme turnover you have, the more cell divisions you need, and the more you age in a way. Guys, I fear I must cut the stream short today, or actually not short. We are already 2 hours in, but I think I must help with the family situation. The little one needs a bit of entertainment as well, I think. So I would say we end it here. We talked about a lot of interesting stuff today. Thank you for all the interesting questions. Yeah, I really appreciated that. We also talked about non-climbing related stuff today. A lot of touchy subjects as well. I hope you're not too mad at me, but I want to be able to tell my honest opinion on here, and this is what I essentially did. Yeah, I hope it's also quite hard to break the language barrier there, because a lot of vocabulary is hard for me to find and in the right moment and to use in the right moment. I'm a native German speaker, so this is quite hard for me at some point. I hope you could understand what I was saying most of the time. I think it was quite understandable. Anyway, if you enjoyed it, drop a like on the stream. That's always appreciated. If I could not answer your specific question, no problem. Please save it for the next stream. I'm not so sure yet whether I'm going to do next Sunday a live stream as well, because next stream is going to be pretty dense from a training week perspective as well, and also from other perspectives. So I hope I can get it done. you will see in the announcement anyway. When it comes, then it's gonna come, and when it's not coming, then maybe I'm gonna take a break next Sunday from live streaming, and I'm gonna do the next live stream the next Sunday after the coming one. Yeah. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the hangout. It was quite a lot of fun answering these tricky questions. I can yeah, I tried my best. I tried my best. That's all I can say. Guys, keep crushing, stay strong. I'll see you soon in the next one. Yeah. Have a great one. Bye.